What's up, everyone? My last video I did away with the stock side lights on the Ti-30 and upgraded them to an RGB system. There's just a few more things I want to do to the scooter before I really start riding it. I still have not ridden it since my GPS test run, so it's really the only time I've ridden the scooter. Today I'm going to continue with that, removing something else I don't like about the scooter, and that's these big turn signals hanging off the back end here. I appreciate the fact that they thought to throw in some turn signals, but they did it on the back. There were none on the front, so it's kind of pointless. So anyway, the scooter didn't come with front turn signals, only these big ones on the back. I don't like them. They're big, they're bulky. I've only ridden this thing one time, but I do remember like hitting my legs on these, my leg on this when I was like rolling the scooter. Kind of takes away from the sleekness of the scooter. So I'm going to switch to what I'm doing on my other scooters. My Q-Power here, I have these remote wireless ones. There's one on the back there, so I can turn it on as a tail light. I have one on the front as well, where there's an idle position. So I'm just going to put it where it's not on at all, because it's on the front, so I didn't want any red lights on the front of the scooter. And then the controller is just up here on my handlebar. So if I want to do right turn signal's going, and on the front, right turn signal's going. So yes, you can link these together. I got this set a while ago, and unfortunately they don't have the same kind on Amazon anymore. But if you just go on Amazon and search for bike turn signal, you'll find many of them. So I have a set of these on my Q-Power, and the good thing about these are you can easily move them from scooter to scooter. I actually have another set that I had on my Q1 over here, and you can see I still have the mounting stuff there, so it's just simply a matter of pushing the bracket, taking it out, moving to the other one. So I took them off of there because I'm going to put them on the Ti-30 now after I get rid of these. I've been looking forward to doing this for a while now because I think it's going to greatly improve the appearance of the scooter. You can see they're big, they're bulky. You got two pretty good sized cables going to them. They are motorcycle turn signals mounted on a scooter, so that's kind of why they look overbearing. It'll be pretty easy to remove. First thing I'm going to do is follow my cables down where they go into the chassis, find out where they plug on, and unplug them. Okay, following this one on this side, ends up going to this connector here where it plugs on to a 2-pin male connector that's brown and black wire coming off it. So I'm just going to unplug it there. I'm also going to just make a short list just for reference if I ever need it. Brown with black, 2-pin male is the right turn signal. And now I'm not going to be using this side, which again is the brown with black, and it's a 2-pin male. That actually goes into a cable with some other wires that runs up to your headlight / turn signal switch. You can see the brown wire going in there. So all these wires going into this cable are going up to the headlight and turn signal switch. So it's they either have to do with turning on the headlights, the switch power, or the signal for the turn signals. Following the other side down, the left rear turn signal, it plugs on to a 2-pin with green and black wires, a 2-pin male with green and black wires. So I've disconnected that now, and I have again my loose green with black wire connector, male connector that I'm not going to use. And you can see the green wire goes into that same cable that the brown one went to, which goes up to the turn signal switch. Also, I wrote on my list again, green with black, 2-pin male is left turn. I got those unplugged. I can kind of free up the wires and get the cables all the way back out. Now all I got to do is take off this nut here. So I got the nuts all the way off and slid them down the wires, and of course they don't fit over the connectors. So I have two choices. I can actually remove the pins from the connector and take the plastic part out to get the nut off. I'm going to choose the easier method because I don't plan to use these anyway, and I'm just going to cut the connectors off. Alright, I cut those off, got the nuts off, so now I should just be able to pull the turn signals out. There's one, there's the other. So before I go on here, just for your own curiosity or knowledge, I want to see what voltage is coming down the line here that was going to the turn signals when they were activated. I suspect it's just a full battery voltage that's being switched up there, just like the headlights, same as the headlights. and that the turn signals themselves had the flashers built into them. All right, so I have my meter connected to the green and black connector that goes up to the switch, the turn signal switch. So I'm going to watch my meter, see it says 0 volts, basically 0.3. I'm going to hit the left turn signal, and you can see it now has 60.8 volts there, which is our full battery voltage. So the turn signal switch is putting full voltage to the turn signal, and the flasher part is built into the turn signal. Next, I need to find a place to mount my two holders, one on the front, one on the back, and also my remote up on the handlebars. So I installed my remote just right at the edge of my hand grip here, and then my hand grip, and then the brake lever, and then my remote for the turn signals. I did slide my switch down, my headlight switch down. Okay, the front one I just mounted just right below this bracket here. It should be a good place. I just need to turn on the turn signal, see which way I'm facing. I'm going to do the right turn signal. And you can see that light's going, so I need to flip it over and mount it in this way. There's just a screw going through here. This is a piece of plastic that's actually part of the fender, so that's what's holding the fender up there. Anyway, so I have a choice here now. I either leave this on here, put the screw back in, and then take my mounting bracket for the turn signal, cut this piece off over here so it's just, the square part, and then just glue it down to the fender here. Again, I would use that shoe glue. I have no doubt it would hold. I've done this on my Q1. It's got hundreds and hundreds of miles with it like this. So here's the same one on my Q1. As you can see, I just used that shoe glue stuff to seal it on directly to the back fender, so that's getting vibrated around, and it's solid. It's literally part of the fender at this point. So that stuff works really good for something like this. So this is what I use again. It's called shoe glue, and you can get this on Amazon. So again, I could use that shoe glue stuff and literally just mount this right here using the shoe glue. I have no doubt that that would hold and be just fine. And then, of course, leave my screws in here, check them from time to time for tightness to make sure that the fender's staying on. That would be perfectly fine. The other choice would be to cut that portion off somewhere on this side of it, so I could then use those holes to mount this bar there and then mount the turn signal on the bar. So I was thinking about the possibility of just chopping this fender back a little bit to some point, so I would still have those two anchoring it. In the process, I ended up taking out all 4 screws and removing the fender. I like the way it looks like that without that fender on. Similar to on the rear end of my Q-Power, my fender had actually broke, so I cut it back that far, and I really like the way it looks with the wheel sticking out like that. So I prefer to make it look more street instead of more off-road. The whole fender sticking out reminded me of BMX, a BMX bike or something, which is pretty cool if you're riding it off-road. But again, this thing's going to totally stay on pavement. I will not be off-roading with it. I want to, kind of take away from that dirt bike look to it. These pieces here are actually metal. I'm now thinking about cutting those back to a certain point as well. So what I'm thinking of doing is first cutting this bracket back on both sides to about this point, so I can leave this handle mounted there, and I could actually still leave a piece of the fender mounted there possibly if I wanted to. So I'm going to cut these off right about here on each side. Okay, so I cut those off where I wanted. Here's the 2 end pieces there. I used a jigsaw. Unfortunately, I didn't have the proper blade, so it took a little bit more for me to get through it. If you have no experience with power tools like this, don't try this. Instead, just you could glue the use that shoe glue stuff and glue the mount back on the rear fender like I originally pointed out. You could use a hacksaw through those too as well, but it is steel. If you do use jigsaw, just take your time. Number one, get the right blade. I didn't have the right blade on it, and then high RPMs, low pressure, and let it cut through. Those both smoothed out now with the file, rounded the edges so there's nothing sharp on either one. I think while I have it off here, I'm going to hit it with some paint. I have a choice. I have gloss black, which I could do, and I only, it's not going to match this other paint perfectly, so I'm going to stop at a certain point, so it'll just be like the tip will be, you know, a little bit different color. My other choice is this one. It's kind of like a dark silver. I think that's the one I'm going to use. Get this thing covered up pretty good, except the parts I want to paint. And I just remembered that when I paint over black, you can't paint directly over black very easily. So I'm first going to put a coat of this on, which is just like an aluminum. I got the first coat of that aluminum paint on it to cover the black. Okay, so got it painted. I ended up putting the one coat of the aluminum and then 3 light coats of the other color. It's actually not that much different than the original color of that bracket. So I temporarily just put the fender back in, lined it up with the holes in the bracket there so I can see what it looks like. So next thing I'm going to do is cut the fender back. I think I'll cut it basically right along the edge here. And I'll still have the 2 screws holding the fender onto the bracket. I cut the back half of that fender off. I just used a hacksaw for that. It was pretty easy. And this is what it looks like. I like the tire sticking out like that and not so much the BMX look anymore. Got my 2 red handles mounted back on there, and I think that looks pretty good. I like it. Okay, next I'm going to mount my holder for my rear turn signal onto this bar right here. Alright, so I got that mounted on there now, and I just have it set for like one of the taillight settings. I have both that and the front one turned on, so now I'm going to hit my right turn signal button. And my right turn signal in the front is going, and the right turn signal in the back. Another thing I like about this particular set is it goes for like 30 seconds and automatically reverts to the previous mode. So you can see after 30 seconds it's now going back to taillight function. I can just push it once to turn it on and it will automatically shut itself off after about 30 seconds. So that's about it for this one, guys. I'll be doing some more videos, a couple more things I still want to do before I start riding it. A couple smaller things, it'll be really quick, but I'll do a separate video on that. Till then, guys, take care, peace, ride safe.